Hello everyone, welcome to the video on Mathematics 8. Today we're going to talk about the net of a 3D object. So before we start, we first need to know how many faces rectangular prisms or triangular prisms have. And also we need to be able to imagine how a box of some sorts can be unfolded. So we can view a 2D illustration of a 3D object. After this video, you'll be able to identify and draw the nets of various 3D objects, including the prisms and the cylinders. Let's try the first example question together. So we want to draw a net of an eraser. So for example, let's take this eraser. Well, the name of this object, this shape is called a rectangular prism. Well, how do we know if it's a rectangular prism? Well, first, we know that it's a rectangular prism because the top and bottom faces are rectangular shapes. So you see that the top side and the bottom side is a rectangular shape. Also, all the sides around it is also rectangular. So prism is called a prism if the top side and the bottom side are the same shapes and the same size, and all the faces around it are called rectangles. So let's draw the net of this object. Well, what I like to do when I draw the net is first, I want to identify what the top side is and the bottom side is, and I'm going to draw them first. So I'm going to start off by, well, if I see the object, the top side is a small rectangular shape. I'm going to say that it's kind of like that. And I also have the bottom side, also the same shape and the same size. I'm going to draw it with some space between it. So that's the top side and the bottom side. And what goes in the middle is the other sides around it. So I can draw a side like that, you can imagine. And then I need to connect more rectangular sides on the side. So my next side is going to be this thin and narrow, but it has the same length, but different width. Like that. And then it's going to repeat another longer side and another short side here. So there's a net of this eraser, the rectangular prism that we have. So if I label the name of the faces here, that will be the top and the bottom, and these are all the sides. These are the sides of the side faces, the right, left, front, back, side faces of this rectangular prism. One thing we note is that these are rectangular shapes and they all have different length and width. And especially for the sides, well, that will be the height, but then the width and the length are changing every now and then. It depends on the rectangular shape of the top and the bottom. So here, if you can imagine the folding and unfolding of it. So if you imagine folding this 2D net, then these two edges will be matched together, and then these two faces will be matched together, and these edges will match together as well. So that's why the length of each rectangle is different. Let's label. So we first start by identify the top and bottom spaces. And these are often called the base. Okay, so the top and bottom are called the base face. And then draw the top and bottom face with some space. So that's what I did first. I drew the top face and the bottom face with some space between, and the space is left for the side. And then draw the rectangles in the side. And we also know that it's a rectangular prism because how many rectangles do I see in the sides? Well, rectangle has 4 sides, so therefore there are 4 side faces for this prism. Let's try the next question. Draw a net of a triangular prism. So a triangular prism is, I have an object just like that. A triangular prism is something like this, where the top and the bottom, well, this one's open here, the top and bottom face are triangular shapes, and all the faces around it is a rectangular shape. So you see this rectangle, and rectangle, and rectangle, but the top and bottom are triangles. So I'm going to draw the net of this prism. Well, first of all, just like before, I'm going to start by identifying the top. The top and bottom is a triangle. Well, it's called triangular prism, right? And then I'm going to draw this. So I'm going to draw the triangle like that. And then the bottom side, I'm going to flip it over. And also I'm going to leave some space between. So like that. And then in the middle is a rectangular part. So I'm going to draw a rectangle like this. For this triangular prism, because we know this is an equilateral triangle, which means that all the sides are the same length, I'm going to draw the rectangles of equal width. And like that, we've completed the net of the triangular prism. And we can count the number of faces on the sides, and we know that there are 3. Well, obviously, because it's a triangular prism. So, once again, this is the top and the bottom, and these are the sides. And we can say that there are 3 sides, rectangular faces, because the base is a triangle. Once again, the base of the prism is the top and the bottom that are the same size and the same shape. And because the base is a triangle, there are a total of 3 sides in the rectangle. So let's review the vocabulary that we've learned in this video. The net is a 2D illustration of a 3D object that can be folded to create such a 3D object. So instead of having a different view of the object, 3 different views of a 3D object, we have one collective diagram that represents the 3D object. We also discussed a few types of the 3D objects that we learned in this school year: the rectangular prism, the triangular prism, and also the cylinder to be discussed. A rectangular prism obviously has a base face of a rectangle. A triangular prism has a base face of a triangle. A cylinder, also called a circular prism, is a 3D object that has the base face of a circle. So the top face is a circle and the bottom face is another circle. Interestingly, the side view will still be a rectangle, and we'll discuss that more in the next few chapters. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.